What was that?
Sounded like an explosion.
Was that a gunshot?
It sounded really close. Was it fireworks, you think?
No. Huh?
Well then, have you had enough yet?
You're a disgrace! Now I'm gonna have to report you had your ammo stolen? Incompetent clown.
Inspector! Sir! It's back!
Don't tell me he's back!
Downstairs, sir.
Sorry, I think I broke him.
Kaoru Hanayama?
Oh no. My God. Hanayama, don't tell me he used that stolen ammo on you.
Gotta run.
You need medical treatment. Stay and let a doctor look you over. Show him some respect.
Yes, sir!
Katahira, get a car.
Right, sir. I'm on it.
Hanayama. We owe you big time for this one.
Okay, here we go. That's weird. What the...
The driver, Sergeant Tsuneo Katahira, age 34, would later...
Am I clear on all the details? Sure. Something like that you never forget. Well, sometimes I wish I could, you know what I mean? So anyway, as to your question, from the time we left the building till Hanayama was in the car, oh, it couldn't have taken more than, say, 2 or 3 minutes, tops. So that means Spec was able to get loose and equip himself with a variety of weapons in just that amount of time. Actually, incidents like this are why I support arming the police with high-caliber machine guns. Not all the time, of course, but in certain circumstances. Anyway, that's neither here nor there, I guess. Spec took that car and flipped the whole thing upside down. Just like that. Like it was nothing.
Young ones are always so naive and soft. You might have even had a chance of winning if you just kept wailing away on me. This ain't no fight. More like a mercy killing. You see, boy, this ain't the cushy world of namby-pamby fighting that you're used to. You're fighting in my world now, and there's no rematches here. Every match is a final. Gotta put it all on the line every single time, 'cause every fight's to the death. Weapons, ambush, Sucker punches. Everything's fair.
So the way Spec was holding him up, there was a gap, see? About 4 inches between Hanayama's head and the pavement. It's like that trick people use to split a rock with a karate chop. You leave a small gap between the rock and a hard metal surface underneath. Even an amateur can split a rock that way, even against an anvil. In this case, the rock was a human head, and the anvil was the pavement. I'll never forget the sound, like a loud crunch. Or maybe it was more like a splat. You're probably wondering how that didn't kill him. You're surprised by that. No offense, but it's obvious you people don't have any idea what kind of man Hanayama is. Sure, any normal person takes that kind of beating. It's game over. But the key word there is normal. Believe me, there is nothing normal about Kaoru Hanayama.
Good luck.
See, he turned his head at the last second, so the bullet went straight through his neck. Then, all of a sudden, Hanayama was on him like a kid in a street fight. Oh, but the worst was yet to come. It was the same stone-cracking karate trick, this time with Spec on the receiving end. I don't think there's a cop alive who hasn't heard of the legendary brawler Kaoru Hanayama. Of course, hearing about him and seeing him in action are two different things. It was a ghastly scene. I know I shouldn't be saying this, being a cop and all, but I kind of wish I could be more like him. Even as a cop, you have to admire the way he fights. There's something pure, primeval about it. Like you're seeing man's true nature in the raw. It was just incredible. I lost track of how many punches he landed. I thought the fight was over. That's when Spec did something very odd. He suddenly covered his eyes with his hand. This move seemed to throw Hanayama, and he stopped punching for a second. And in that instant, I knew at once what had happened. As soon as I saw that intense burst of light that we cops know all too well. Yes, I'm talking about an explosive device that uses light and sound to incapacitate suspects. As used in that infamous bus hijacking, for example. The device grenade. And when detonated, it emits a blinding flash of light and an incredibly loud bang. It's only for an instant, but anyone in the vicinity of this flash and bang is completely disoriented and immobilized. For a moment, they can't even think straight. Whether the suspect's armed with a knife or a gun, there's only one reaction to such an intense assault on the senses. And that's to hunch over and try to protect yourself. Like what happened with the suspects in the bus hijacking. It's just human nature. The survival instinct. But remember, we're talking about Kaoru Hanayama here. Even after the device went off, he was still standing tall. He didn't even flinch. I don't think he could see very well, though, because his next punch missed its mark. Now, Spec loves to use weapons on his opponents, but in this case, none of them had worked. For him, it was crunch time. He had to fall back on his most tried and true weapon of all, his body. Now, we've done judo training on the force, so I speak with some authority when I say there is virtually no escape from a well-executed rear naked choke. Perhaps I should say, there's no real technique for countering it. But you don't want to be too hung up on technique all the time, because it wasn't a technique. I've heard his grip strength is so strong it can't even be measured on a dynameter. And I've also heard the rumor that he once tore a chunk out of a deck of playing cards with just 2 fingers. A whole chunk! That kind of instantaneous explosive force is a natural gift you're born with. And the gods sure gave him an extra helping. There's this story that's been going around. About the boxer? You know what I mean. Anyway, it's been circulating around the force. Do you remember a boxer named Yuri Tchaikovsky? He was the world junior welterweight champion, and he decided to go up in class and become a heavyweight. But then, right before his first heavyweight fight, he suddenly retired. The official version was that he had to retire after sustaining unspecified injuries during a random assault committed by an unknown assailant before the match. But when contacted later, the paramedics who had rushed him to the hospital provided more specific details. According to them, Yuri's arm looked like it had literally exploded. Now, if you're thinking that his unidentified attacker was probably Kaoru Hanayama, you'd be right. Hanayama is capable of stopping a veteran heavyweight's punch in mid-swing, so handling a wannabe heavyweight like Yuri Tchaikovsky was a piece of cake. Like that really speaks to the off-the-chart strength of his grip. I don't know that you'd call it a technique, but I did find out later it has a name. The Vice Grip. I couldn't believe it when I saw it. Neither could Spec, for that matter. Oh man, that must have really hurt. I can imagine having a big chunk of your inner thigh ripped out. You won't find that technique in any book. That's when Spec gave him the finger, all the way up to the knuckle. It probably even reached his brain. But you'd never have known it. Even with Spec's finger still in his head, Hanayama never broke off his attack. Next target was the throat. Now crush the throat, cut off the oxygen. No surgery can fix that. As for Hanayama, even with both his kneecaps shot to pieces, he was still standing. But that's Kaoru Hanayama for you.
Arrived at the hospital, you would have thought this patient was in the early years of middle age. I would have said 50, 55 at most. But he is, in fact, 97. What's more, he's wasted away to the point where his visible age has caught up with his chronological age. And it hasn't even been a week yet.
I wonder. I've certainly never heard of anything like it. But is there really no precedent for it at all, Doctor?
No, none that I can think of. There's no report on record of any case this extreme. Not officially, at least. But
what? In 1976, a treasure hunter by the name of Jack Lee Biondi discovered a sunken ship off the California coast. This was after a 30-year search for the wreck. The ship was the Sun Crane, a British freighter that had gone down in 1944. Biondi would eventually salvage from the wreck more than 200 crates of gold, silver coins, gems, and antiques. A treasure that was cumulatively valued at over $16.4 billion at the time. In a newspaper interview printed shortly after his discovery, Biondi was quoted as saying, At the time, this was laughed off as a bad joke, but soon after, his words were seen in a new light. Suddenly, only 14 days after discovering the treasure, Biondi was dead. When the story broke, most people assumed he'd been killed. After all, a man who's just discovered a fortune worth billions might have a target on his back. But their views changed when the team of doctors who had treated Biondi held a press conference, at which they made a startling announcement that the cause of death was old age. To say this was a surprise to his colleagues and friends would be an understatement. Everyone who knew him was stunned by the news. Even Belinda, his wife of 20 years, couldn't understand it, let alone explain it. Later, an examination of his personal effects and records uncovered a shocking fact that made headlines around the world. Jack Lee Biondi, explorer and adventurer, a seemingly healthy and fit middle-aged man in the prime of his life, was in fact 88 years old.
this was never officially accepted as proven, so it's probably best to take the whole thing with a grain of salt.
But now we know it's true.
His dream, Biondi lost the one thing that had been keeping him alive. Perhaps this fellow lost the will to live by achieving his dream as well.
Wait, his dream? How'd he achieve his dream by losing a fight and getting beaten senseless?
We keeping you awake, Baki?
Yeah, I mean, no.
The only part you filled in is your name. So far, you've got 100. Coach Nakamura says you got a perfect score on that physical fitness test he does. Maybe you're planning on dropping out of school and training for the Olympics or something. What are you looking at? Get back to work. So, Baki, tell me, what was it that built this school, huh? It was the power inside the human nugget!
Ow!
Now, listen up. The real world doesn't run on muscle power, it runs on brain power. Care how fast you can run, you can't outrun a motorcycle. And no matter how strong you are, you can't lift a car completely off the ground. No matter how fast you can swim, you can't swim 1/10 as fast as a well-designed speedboat.
Hey, wait for me!
No matter how high you can jump, you'll never be able to fly like a hang glider. You get the point, Baki?
Well, what about people who can fight off wild man-eating beasts with their bare hands?
Yeah, that comes in real handy nowadays. Anyway, who are these people you're talking about? You wouldn't be referring to your father, would you? I don't care if you're the fastest runner or the highest high jumper. The fastest sprinter at full speed from the far side of the field couldn't make the leap up here to this classroom. Nope. You'd have to take the stairs just like everyone else. Stairs,
give it
I
a
might
rest,
add,
will
that
you?
were designed by an
Trying
architect
to
using his
concentrate.
brain. You see, it's the human intellect that helps us to overcome our physical limitations. I mean, can you imagine someone leaping into this classroom?
I saw you sitting here getting chewed out by this gas bag of a teacher, so I thought I'd do you a favor by skipping the stairs and just leaping right in.
Excuse me?
How rude of me. You don't mind the interruption now, do you?
Oh, dude, I'm so scared.